Welcome to TrueCrime Deep Dive. I am your host, Sherry.
I'm your host, Mark.
Let's dive into it. We've been digging through the sources you sent, and wow, there's this really bizarre pattern showing up, something we felt we just had to talk about.
It is quite strange, isn't it?
Right.
Looking at how some, truly notorious serial killers were caught. The materials highlight this recurring theme. These incredibly meticulous, often long-term criminals getting tripped up by, frankly, stupid mistakes.
Exactly. Like unbelievably simple errors. You have individuals planning these horrific, complex crimes, evading police for years, sometimes decades, and then it all comes crashing down because of something almost, basic.
Right. It's almost comical if the subject matter weren't so grim.
Yeah.
We're mainly drawing from that Ian Forty article, 10 More Stupid Mistakes That Got Killers Caught, which really crystallizes this idea.
Yeah, it's full of these head-scratching moments. So today, let's really get into these blunders, see what they tell us.
It's a fascinating look at that contrast, the elaborate evil versus the mundane failure. So where do you want to start?
Well, to really hammer home this contrast, let's start with someone everyone knows, Ted Bundy. Active, maybe 5 years, at least 30 victims, probably more.
And his whole MO, charming, faking injuries to lure victims. Very calculated. He even had a psychology background, went to law school for a bit.
Totally. Building that trust, that image of being harmless. But his first capture back in '75, it wasn't some brilliant detective work initially, was it?
No, not really. It was almost routine. Pulled over for driving without his lights on, early morning hours.
And the police find, a pretty creepy toolkit in the car, right? Ski mask, ice pick, handcuffs.
Stuff that screams trouble. But even then, he's only charged with kidnapping initially. He actually escapes later.
Right, and this is where the really ironic, stupid mistake comes in. The thing that ultimately sealed his fate after he escaped, not once, but twice.
Yeah, the car thefts. Almost unbelievable. He escapes prison, and what gets him caught again? Stealing a car, he escapes again and gets caught again.
Driving another stolen car.
Exactly. It's like this guy who orchestrated these complex disappearances and murders gets tripped up by, Grand Theft Auto repeatedly.
It's just the banality of it, isn't it? Compared to the scale of his other crimes. Does that suggest, arrogance? Or just carelessness setting in?
Maybe a bit of both. Perhaps that sense of invincibility grows. He thinks he's smarter than everyone, can talk his way out of anything, even something as straightforward as car theft. It really highlights that human fallibility, even in someone like Bundy.
Okay, let's shift gears. Another long-term case. The Golden State Killer. Joseph James DeAngelo Jr. We're talking 13 murders, 50 rapes, over 100 burglaries, spanning from 73 to 86.
And a former police officer. He knew the procedures, how investigations worked, how to avoid leaving obvious clues, which makes his evasion for decades, understandable in a chilling way.
Right. The breakthrough, though, came much, much later. Completely unexpected.
Yeah, the rise of genetic genealogy.
Yeah.
Using public DNA databases like GED Match to find relatives.
And here's the kicker, the sort of retroactive mistake. He did leave DNA at crime scenes back in the 70s and 80s.
But back then,
it was basically useless. Consumer DNA testing, large-scale databases, they didn't exist. It's like leaving a message in a language no one could read for 30 years.
Precisely. So the mistake wasn't really a mistake at the time he made it. He couldn't have foreseen the explosion in genealogical DNA testing decades later. The evidence was just sitting there, waiting for the technology and, the public interest to catch up.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? How can you plan for something that doesn't even exist yet?
You can't. It shows the limits of even the most careful criminal planning against future unknowns, societal shifts, tech advancements.
Okay, next up, Randy Kraft, the scorecard killer. Grim nickname.
Very grim. He kept this coded list, a scorecard, supposedly detailing victims. Estimates range from 16 to, possibly over 50 young men killed. Early 70s to early 80s.
And he'd been on the radar before, right? Suspected, but charges didn't stick.
Yeah, there were earlier instances, but not enough concrete proof. His final capture in 1983, though, it was almost insultingly simple, given the horror of his crimes.
He got pulled over for driving erratically, just drunk driving.
Right, a routine traffic stop by the California Highway Patrol. And they look over.
And there's a dead body in the passenger seat, just sitting there.
Unbelievable. And it didn't stop there. In the car, they found more blood evidence from other victims, incriminating Polaroids.
And the scorecard itself?
The scorecard, it's just The sheer audacity or maybe recklessness, driving drunk with a victim and a mountain of evidence in the car, it's baffling.
Maybe after years of getting away with it, the caution just eroded. He felt untouchable.
It certainly seems that way. A profound lack of judgment in that moment.
Let's move across the globe. Alexander Bichkov, a Russian serial killer, convicted of 9 murders, known for cannibalism.
His MO involved targeting older, vulnerable men often met in bars. And there was even a false confession in his case for a time, complicating things.
Yeah, someone else confessed, throwing investigators off track. But Bichkov's own mistake brought him down. And it wasn't related to the murders directly, was it?
No, it was. Kind of mundane again. He robbed a hardware store in 2012. Knives, yes, but also just cash. About $300 worth.
$300 after committing multiple murders. Why? It seems so disproportionate.
Impulse, maybe. A sudden need for cash or supplies that just overrode his caution. Whatever the reason, that robbery led police to search his home.
And that's where they found it.
His diary, detailing the murders in gruesome detail. So, a relatively petty crime exposed monstrous acts. The connection is almost absurd.
Okay, how about Arthur Shawcross? Genesee River killer, at least 14 victims, late 70s, late 80s. He also had that fabricated Vietnam War history.
Right, and a prior record. Burglary, arson. He'd even killed 2 children earlier in his life, got a disturbingly lenient manslaughter deal, and was paroled early after supposedly saving a guard.
The system seemed to miss a lot of red flags there, but his final capture in 1990, this one is just bizarre.
Utterly bizarre. He was spotted by a police surveillance helicopter.
Doing what?
Near the body of his latest victim. Just casually eating his lunch.
Right.
And, pleasuring himself.
Wait, really? Eating lunch and, yeah, near the body, on camera.
Recorded by the helicopter crew. Yeah. The sheer flagrancy of it. The disconnect from the horrific reality of the situation is hard to comprehend.
What does that even say about his state of mind? Complete detachment, utter lack of concern.
It suggests a profound psychological breakdown, perhaps. A total loss of self-awareness or any fear of consequence. Just stark, disturbing behavior.
Wow, okay. We have to talk about Jeffrey Dahmer. 17 victims, horrific crimes. Murder, dismemberment, cannibalism, and he had near misses too, didn't he?
Oh, absolutely. Infamous incidents where potential victims or witnesses encountered police, but due to various factors, maybe Dahmer's manipulation, maybe police oversight or bias, he wasn't apprehended.
But the final mistake, the one that actually led to his capture, it seems almost like an act of politeness.
It does, in a twisted way. His intended final victim, Tracy Edwards, was in the apartment, handcuffed. Edwards asked to use the bathroom.
And Dahmer let him.
He let him, and apparently offered him a beer too. Edwards saw his chance. While Dahmer's back was turned, or maybe just distracted for a moment,
Edwards managed to fight back.
Punched him, broke free, ran out into the street, flagged down police, led them right back to the apartment.
And they found everything. The photos, the body parts in the fridge.
All of it. So, yes, granting that small request, that moment of perceived control where he let his guard down, that was the mistake that ended it all.
Mind-boggling. Okay, Maury Travis. Suspected serial killer, arrested for 2 murders, confessed to 17. They found that awful torture chamber in his basement.
A truly disturbing case. His mistake feels rooted in ego, arrogance.
How so?
He actually wrote a letter to the St. Louis Post-Dispatch newspaper
Wow.
to complain about their reporting on one of the victims. He felt they got details wrong and wanted to correct them.
Okay, that's bold, but how is that the mistake?
Well, within the letter, trying to prove his point or guide the investigation perhaps, he included a map, a printed map from Expedia.com, showing a location relevant to the victim.
Oh no.
Oh yes, police saw that map, saw it was from Expedia.
And traced the digital footprint.
Right back to Travis's computer, that specific map printout. It's like he couldn't resist inserting himself into the narrative, correcting the story, even if it led directly to him.
The need to control the story outweighed the need for freedom.
Wow. Seems that way.
A fatal bit of communication.
Then there's Richard Kuklinski, the Iceman. More of a hitman, reputedly, but convicted of 5 murders, suspected of many, many more.
Right, he cultivated this fearsome reputation. His mistake was classic, really.
Yeah, those lips.
Exactly. He started bragging, telling stories about his exploits, his methods. Just someone he thought was a fellow criminal, someone getting into the business. But the guy was actually an undercover federal agent.
Ouch, so he just laid it all out. Apparently gave detail-specific methods, like using cyanide in hamburgers. Ways he disposed of bodies, details that perfectly matched cold cases. He basically confessed on tape, corroborating evidence in unsolved murders.
You'd think a professional hitman would value discretion above all else.
You would think. But maybe the ego, the desire to impress, to be seen as this master criminal, it just took over. That need for validation can be powerful, apparently.
Okay, last couple here, and they really drive home the sheer, sometimes absurdity of these mistakes. Neville Heath committed 2 quite similar murders shortly after getting engaged, believe it or not.
Yes, back in the 1940s in England. His first big mistake, and the first murder.
What was it?
He signed the hotel register with his real name.
No, just signed in normally, before committing murder.
Seems so.
Yeah.
Incredibly careless. He even wrote a letter to the police afterwards, trying to throw them off, but then...
He did it again.
He checked into another hotel, this time using a fake name, thankfully, but then committed a very similar crime. It's like zero learning curve. The compulsion just completely overshadowed any rational thought or self-preservation.
Unbelievable. And finally, Henri Landru, the French Bluebeard.
Ah, yes, Landru. Started as a swindler, targeting lonely widows during World War I, posing as a wealthy widower himself.
Right, he'd charm them, get control of their assets.
And then they disappear. He convinced them to isolate themselves with him in rented villas outside Paris.
So his mistake, how did they finally catch on? It wasn't just the disappearances.
Well, there were 2 key things, weren't there? First, his own meticulous record-keeping, ironically. Yeah. He kept notebooks detailing financial transactions, including
train tickets,
round-trip tickets for himself to the villas, but only one-way tickets for the women he took there.
Oh, that's conspicuous.
Very. A glaring pattern. And the second thing, the neighbors near his villa, they started complaining.
About?
Thick, foul-smelling black smoke constantly coming from his chimney.
Yeah.
Exactly. Police eventually investigated, searched the villa, and found, well, fragments of human bones and teeth mixed in the ashes in his stove.
Buying one-way tickets and then burning bodies so obviously. It's such a contrast to the careful swindling. Complacency again.
It seems likely. Maybe he thought his system was foolproof, got sloppy with the disposal.
Yeah.
That mundane detail of the train tickets combined with the very physical evidence of the smoke and remains. It was just too much.
So, wrapping this deep dive up, it really is this theme, isn't it? This just striking, ironic contrast. These killers, capable of such intricate planning, such terrible acts over long periods.
And yet they get tripped up by these moments of almost unbelievable simplicity. Carelessness, ego, sometimes just bad luck interacting with future technology they couldn't predict.
It really drives home that nobody's infallible, I suppose. Even people operating so far outside normal human behavior are still human in their capacity for error, driven by ego, maybe laziness, or just unforeseen events.
Absolutely. It's a stark reminder of that fallibility.
So, something for our listeners to maybe chew on. How do these seemingly stupid mistakes kind of puncture the myth of the criminal mastermind? And what does it really tell us about, the limits of control? How even the most calculated, sinister plans can be derailed by something completely unexpected, something almost random.
It's definitely a provocative thought. The role of chance in human error, even in the darkest corners.
Indeed. Thanks for exploring this unsettling pattern with us.
New episodes are going to be released every Tuesday and Friday.
Simple but essential.
Simple but essential information for staying up to date.
Foundational piece of knowledge.
You got it. And with that knowledge, you can engage with our content on your own terms, on your own schedule.
That's the beauty of it.
That's right. So with that in mind, think about this now that you know exactly when to tune in.
Think about the future.
What burning questions do you have out there?
Yeah, what topics are you hoping we'll explore in future deep dives?
What sources are just sitting in your archives, just waiting to be unpacked?
We're ready.
Waiting to have their secrets revealed.
Send them our way.
Send them our way. We're always ready for our next dive.
Always.
Guided by your curiosity.
Yeah.
So until then, keep diving.
Happy listening.
And we'll see you soon.
See you next time.
Take care.
Bye.